Hello guys, welcome back to our anime explainer. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of upcoming episode of Renegade Immortal based on novel. So let's start. The moment this gap appeared, a large amount of spiritual energy from outside entered Wang Lin's body. At the same time, the shattered pieces of his origin soul began to condense. Although it hadn't recovered, it was no longer dissipating. Wang Lin immediately closed his eyes and quietly cultivated. 3 days later, the sky darkened and snow covered the mountain. From a distance, the entire mountain looked like it was buried in snow. The snowflakes that were falling toward Wang Lin would melt 3 inches from his body. This caused a circular watermark to gradually form around him. The T mark on his face was no longer as prominent as it was before, and it was showing signs of disappearing. When Wang Lin opened his eyes, they were filled with spirit. 10% of the T marks are gone, the seal has loosened, and my cultivation has recovered to the early stage of foundation establishment. As a result, I will be able to just barely use a lot of the treasures inside my bag. Thanks to that and the mosquito beast, as long as I don't meet any soul formation cultivators, I will be safe. However, that piece of celestial jade is the limit my body can handle right now. If I take any more, then I'm afraid my body will be turned to dust by the celestial spiritual energy before the domain and seal are broken. Now I can only try to reach the core formation stage as soon as possible. When I reach the core formation stage, I should be able to take another piece of celestial jade and try to break the domain and seal completely. However, I only have so many top quality spirit stones, so I can't just keep using them like this. I need to find a place with dense spiritual energy to cultivate in peace. I must recover my cultivation in 9 years no matter what. After Wang Lin pondered a bit, his eyes lit up and he jumped on the mosquito beast. The mosquito beast let out a happy roar and carried Wang Lin away. Wang Lin lowered his head and looked at the fire cloud village. After killing the large, burly man and the knife-scarred burly man, most of his anger had been appeased. He patted the mosquito's big head, and the mosquito let out a roar and charged forward. Slower. Wang Lin's expression changed. His cultivation had only recovered to the early stage of foundation establishment, so he couldn't withstand the speed of the mosquito beast, which was around late-stage nascent soul level. The mosquito immediately slowed down and flew slowly. While sitting on the back of the mosquito beast, Wang Lin took out the map jade and looked south. That was where the country of Pailu's soul refining sect was. One of the 3 great sects in the country of Pailu on the continent of Suzaku must have plenty of spiritual energy within the sect. The reason he chose the soul refining sect was because it was very strange. It only had a few hundred core disciples, but more than tens of thousands of outer disciples. Compared to the other 2 great sects in Pailu, the soul refining sect had the lowest amount of core disciples, but they were on par with the other 2 great sects. To be able to match the other 2 great sects, with only a few hundred core disciples, showed that not only were the treasures in the soul refining sect great, but the cultivation of the core disciples was also powerful. The soul refining sect would never recruit disciples from mortal children. There was only one way to become a core disciple of the soul refining sect, and that was to first become an outer disciple. Every 3 years, the outer sect disciples would have a competition where one of them would be chosen to become a core disciple. The core disciples also competed every 3 years, but in their competitions, one would be kicked out. This meant that even if someone became a core disciple, they could still be kicked out. It was very simple to become an outer disciple. As long as one paid enough spirit stones, they could gain the status of an outer disciple for a period of time. There were several large mountains around the soul refining sect with spiritual energy several times denser than normal. This was where the outer disciples of the soul refining sect resided. Although they were outer disciples, they were actually just paying spirit stones to rent a cave to cultivate in. The methods of the soul refining sect were very strange and rarely seen in Suzaku, and no one knew the reason why they did it like this. Because of this, Wang Lin chose the soul refining sect. The map had very detailed information about the soul refining sect. Wang Lin believed that the person who sold him the jade once came, and was an outer disciple of the soul refining sect for a period of time. Pailu was, after all, a rank 5 cultivation country, and there were countless cultivation families that relied on the 3 great sects. These families would send a large amount of disciples to the 3 great sects every 3 years. None of these disciples of the cultivation families had special privileges. Unless their talent was heaven-defying, they would have to start from the bottom. Wang Lin arrived near the soul refining sect after 7 days of riding the mosquito beast. About 500 kilometers away from the sect, he got off the mosquito beast and took out a normal flying sword. He jumped on the flying sword and flew toward the sect. Not long after, the soul refining sect came into view, but a few kilometers away from the sect, a gentle light blocked him from entering. Wang Lin knew that this was the soul refining sect's defensive formation, so he immediately put away the flying sword and landed. Just at this moment, a ray of purple and red light passed by Wang Lin from behind, creating sonic booms. The trees in the forest all rustled from the wind the light had created. When the red light closed in, a red-haired old man came into view. This person's face looked very strange. His mouth and nose were very large, but his eyes were very small. It looked like he could swallow the heavens. After Wang Lin saw this person, his eyes lit up and immediately stood to the side respectfully. The old man was about to enter the soul refining sect when he suddenly turned and saw Wang Lin. He was surprised when he looked at Wang Lin, then he looked at the scar on Wang Lin's face and shouted, "Which sect's disciple are you?" Wang Lin respectfully said, "Disciple is a rogue cultivator, hoping to become an outer sect disciple." The old man looked at Wang Lin and nodded. To reach the foundation establishment stage as a rogue cultivator is not easy. You want to become an outer sect disciple to find a place to go into closed-door cultivation, correct? Wang Lin's eyes revealed a respectful gaze as he said, "That is what disciple intends." The old man waved his sleeves and said, "You are too late. The time to accept outer sect disciples has long passed. Go home and come back in a few years." With that, he was about to step into the sect. Wang Lin sneered in his heart, but revealed a respectful look. He pretended to be heartbroken as he took out a sealed box and said, "Senior, this is a flying sword that Junior found a few years ago and hasn't been willing to use. Senior, please accept this. Disciple only wishes to become an outer sect disciple." Wang Lin was able to easily see that this old man was only at the early stage of core formation. To this level of cultivator, the flying sword he took out was very valuable. The old man stopped and looked at Wang Lin with a faint smile. He thought that Wang Lin was definitely a rogue cultivator, because he was much smarter than those from the big families. He waved his hand and the sealed box landed in his palm. When he opened the box, he revealed a joyous expression. But he immediately hid the joy and calmly asked, "Where did you find this?" Wang Lin respectfully said, "Many years ago, I helped a core formation cultivator. He was heavily injured and I helped protect him while he recovered. He gifted me this sword as thanks, but disciple's cultivation level is too low to use it." The old man's eyes lit up and he said, "Oh. What kind of injury? Describe it to me." With Wang Lin's 500 years of being a cultivator, all he had to do was casually make something up and it would sound real. After the old man heard a little, the doubt in his heart disappeared. After all, the person before him was only a foundation establishment cultivator. Without seeing it personally, there was no way for him to describe the injury this clearly. Although there were some places that were a bit iffy, that was normal. If it was explained too clearly, it would seem fake. "Okay, I can see that you have worked hard to reach your cultivation level, so I'll make an exception. Follow me." With that, the old man entered the soul refining sect. At the same time, he took out a token and pressed it behind him. The light preventing Wang Lin from entering immediately disappeared. Wang Lin quickly walked in. "Follow me closely. There are many restrictions within my soul refining sect. If you enter one of them, I won't save you." With that, the old man flew forward. Wang Lin slapped his bag of holding and a flying sword appeared. He stepped onto the flying sword and followed the old man. Shortly after, the old man stopped at a cliff. There was a luxurious palace here, as well as countless houses nearby. After the old man landed, he shouted, "Chang Dawei. I'm coming, red hair. What are you shouting for?" A lazy voice came from one of the houses. Soon, a middle-aged man walked out. This person's hair was very messy, like it had been many years since it was last washed. The red-haired old man laughed and said, "This is a disciple I met on the way. How about you take him as an outer disciple?" The middle-aged man let out a yawn as he glanced at Wang Lin, who was standing behind the red-haired old man. He lazily said, "Since you personally asked, how could I refuse?" The red-haired elder smiled and said, "This time I gathered over 100 vengeful souls when left the sect. I'll add them to my soul flag and make one of them a main soul. Once I finish, I'll come and drink with you." With that, The old man flew into the distance. The middle-aged man looked at Wang Lin and asked, "What is your name?" Wang Lin respectfully said, "Disciple is named Qian Mu. The 1090th cave on this mountain will belong to you. It costs 1 mid-quality spirit stone to use it for 1 year." The middle-aged man threw a black token at Wang Lin. Wang Lin made it look like his heart was aching as he took out 2 mid-quality spirit stones. After the middle-aged man took the spirit stones, he no longer paid attention to Wang Lin and left. Just as Wang Lin wanted to leave, the middle-aged man suddenly asked, "What did you give Red Hair?" Wang Lin honestly replied, "A flying sword that a senior gave me in the past." No wonder that Red Hair was so happy. "Qian Mu, although you are at the foundation establishment stage, you shouldn't be proud. Although there aren't many foundation establishment cultivators among the outer disciples, there is still a decent amount. 6 months from tomorrow is when the competition of the outer sect disciples starts. If you work hard on your cultivation, you might have a chance to become a core disciple." The middle-aged man then shook his head and walked into the room. At this moment, Liu Mai looked toward the soul refining sect from a mountain 25 kilometers away. She was holding a piece of jade. This jade was sent to her by the ancestor via messenger. Although it couldn't pinpoint Seng Nyo's exact location, it would have a reaction if he was within 50 kilometers. At this moment, the jade was releasing a green light. Liu Mai whispered, "Is he at the soul refining sect?" A ray of green light was flying over the eastern side of planet Suzaku. However, this person was not flying with his body, but with his origin soul. He was a mess. There were 3 fist-sized dents on his origin soul. Each one was emitting a silver light. This person was the giant demon clan's ancestor. He was heavily injured by Sun Tai's demon child and had to escape with his origin soul. He didn't even have time to worry about Wang Lin. But that demon child was very strange. It never said a word and only chased after him. In these past few months, they almost circled the entire planet once. During the chase, the giant demon clan ancestor was hit by a few of the demon child's punches. These small fists marks shouldn't be looked down upon, because they had injured his origin soul. If it wasn't for the fact that he had been a cultivator for a very long time, and had some secret techniques of the giant demon clan, he wouldn't have been able to get away. He was too injured to use his bloodline power again, so, in the end, he lured the demon child to the extreme north. There was an ancient restriction there that had been in place since planet Suzaku was founded. Only by trapping the demon child in there was he able to get away. He was very weak at the moment and he didn't want to attract too much attention, so he quickly returned to the giant demon clan. As for whether or not Kai Hu and the other clan members had made it out alive, he had long forgotten about them. After returning to the giant demon clan, he immediately possessed a clan member and began his closed-door cultivation. As for Wang Lin, he didn't dare to search for him now. Suzaku had already begun to investigate this matter, so he could only clench his teeth and helplessly give up for now. Although he didn't catch Wang Lin, he stole this mysterious flying sword. At this moment, the ancestor opened his eyes. He moved around in the body he was possessing and his eyes darkened. This possessed body would take time to completely become his own. This time varied depending on the cultivation levels of the person being possessed and of the person doing the possessing. The ancestor's eyes lit up. He slapped his bag of holding and the celestial sword flew out and floated before him. The ancestor pointed at the celestial sword and a miserable scream, mixed with pleas for mercy, immediately came out. The ancestor shouted, "Sword spirit, appear." Black gas suddenly came out of the celestial sword and formed the shape of Shuligua. After he saw the giant demon clan ancestor, he immediately began to beg for mercy. "My lord, have mercy. Please don't kill me. I was forced by that person named Wang. My hatred for him isn't any less than yours, my lord. I hate him to the bones." After the giant demon clan ancestor heard Shuligua's words, he was stunned and then immediately smiled. "You are certainly a strange sword spirit. Most sword spirits are very determined and loyal." Shuligua immediately revealed a pleasing smile and said, "Your grandpa Shu." The ancestor stared at Shuligua. Shuligua quickly changed his expression and said, "How could those servant sword spirits compare to me? A wise man knows who they should follow." The giant demon clan ancestor looked at Shuligua, and then shot a ray of green light at him. Shuligua immediately began to scream miserably while speaking badly about Wang Lin. The ancestor snorted and removed the spell. He then shouted, from today onward, you are my sword spirit. Since you surrendered on your own, I won't place a restriction on you. After all, in my hands, you won't be able to escape anyway. In truth, that green light was meant to be a seal, but it only hurt Shuligwa instead of sealing him. This old man was very surprised, but he didn't show it on his face. He decided to research it more once he adjusts to his new body. Shuligwa immediately revealed a thankful expression. He patted his chest and said, "My lord, don't worry. I have always been loyal. That Wang Lin mistreated me, so I rebelled against him, but my lord treats me so well, I wouldn't dare to betray you. This is my oath. If I break it, let 10,000 demons pierce my heart." Seeing this, the giant demon clan ancestor lightened up. Shuligwa let out a sigh of relief. He secretly thought, "It seems your grandeur Shuligwa is smart. I don't know when that fiend will come and save me, so I must resist. I will first give in and then get back at this old man in the future. I, Shuligwa, am very loyal. That fiend has been good to me, so how could I betray him?" The giant demon clan ancestor's eyes lit up. He originally wanted to wipe this sword spirit out and replace it with his own. However, if it was not the initial sword spirit, he wouldn't be able to use the sword's full power. More so, this sword spirit was not simple. It had gained enough intelligence to beg for mercy and to please others. Thus, it made him even more unwilling to give it up. It has to be said that it was very rare for a sword spirit to gain intelligence. During battles, the benefits of intelligent sword spirits were great. He didn't know that Shuligwa wasn't the original sword spirit, and that the reason he was intelligent was because he was a devil. Even if Shuligwa were to break the oath he had just made, the punishment wouldn't harm him at all. In fact, he was waiting for the punishment to happen, because it would actually strengthen him instead. The giant demon clan ancestor pondered for a bit before putting Shuligwa back into the sword and carefully examining it. The more he saw, the more shocked he was. This sword is definitely not normal. I don't even know what material it's made of. His eyes lit up and he carefully placed the sword inside his bag. As for Wang Lin, he took the token, flew along the mountain until he found cave 1090, and flew inside. This cave was not very big. It was very similar to the one he used back in the Hengyu sect. All it had was a stone bed, there wasn't even a table. But the spiritual energy in here was very dense, several times more dense than outside. It was even slightly better than the well in the Fire Cloud village, which was powered by 3 almost depleted top-quality spirit stones. Although spiritual energy released by top-quality spirit stones was easy to absorb, it lacked a sense of vigor. Especially spirit stones that were about to be depleted, they had no vigor at all. The spiritual energy released by the spirit vein here was much better. Wang Lin sat down in the lotus position on the stone bed and began to cultivate. 3 days later, Wang Lin opened his eyes and shook his head. He felt like it was still too slow. He slapped his bag of holding and took out 3 top-quality spirit stones. Then he placed several restrictions on the walls and the entrance before closing his eyes to cultivate again. As a result, the spiritual energy in room 1090 immediately became denser. When the spiritual energy reached the walls, the restrictions would bounce it all back, preventing it from dissipating. The cave had become like a steamer. The spiritual energy had nowhere to go, so Wang Lin became the only outlet. As he breathed, large amounts of spiritual energy surged into his body. Wang Lin's face turned slightly red, as he silently cultivated. The amount of spiritual energy in his body gradually grew, but it was still far from what he needed to break the T-domain and the seal. The T-domain and seal devoured spiritual energy, so as Wang Lin's cultivation level increased, they became even harder to break. Time slowly passed. It has been a month since Wang Lin became an outer disciple of the soul refining sect. On this day, Wang Lin opened his eyes. His eyes were brighter than before. In this past month, he had been absorbing spiritual energy like crazy. Of the 3 top-quality spirit stones, 2 had already turned to dust and the last one was about to expire as well. After wasting so many resources, his gains this month were also great. He started at the early stage of foundation establishment and managed to reach the peak of the mid-stage of foundation establishment, only 1 step from the late stage. It is still too slow. I had to waste top-quality spirit stones to barely reach this stage. I only have 15 top-quality spirit stones left. These won't be nearly enough. Wang Lin sighed and moved his body. Cracking sounds filled the room as countless cracks appeared on the stone bed. Cracks even appeared on the surrounding walls. Wang Lin was startled at first and then he pondered a bit. He immediately understood that it was because the spiritual energy was too dense for the cave to handle. If this continued, the cracks would become even larger. I can't use this cave anymore. I have to change caves. Wang Lin's hand pressed on the wall and all the cracks immediately closed up. Even the stone bed returned to normal when Wang Lin pressed on it. However, Wang Lin knew that this was only on the surface. If the spiritual energy increased, the cracks would reappear. But as long as he refrained from using top-quality spirit stones, the cracks wouldn't appear, and he wouldn't arouse any suspicion. Wang Lin pondered a bit, then he stood up, opened the cave's door and walked out. It was currently dusk, and the distant sunset emitted a red glow. Today was the last day of the year. Wang Lin looked at the sunset. The winter's sunlight didn't contain much warmth. By the time it landed on one's body, it was already cold. He pondered a bit and remembered that today was the last day of the year. Once today passes, it will be a new year. He thought about what little Ju Yu could be doing. Was she still bullying Little White? Thinking about this, Wang Lin let out a faint smile. He faced the sunset and took a deep breath. Wang Lin muttered to himself, life rises from the ashes. From his place high up in the heavens, he was suddenly beaten down into becoming immortal, but he was able to get through it all with his determination. It wasn't until today that he could lament about it and mutter those words. As he thought about what had happened since he lost his cultivation, a complex feeling appeared in his heart. Today, the last day of the year, represented Wang Lin's fall, but tomorrow was the first day of the new year, representing infinite new possibilities. Wang Lin whispered, "It has passed." At this moment, a girl's beautiful figure slowly flew toward the soul refining sect in the sunset. Wang Lin's eyes became focused. This person looks familiar. Wang Lin carefully looked at the girl as she floated into the inner part of the soul refining sect. This person is a bit familiar. Wang Lin took one more look and pondered a bit, but he wasn't able to remember where he had seen this person before. He floated down from the mountain and arrived before the buildings near the center of the mountain range. The middle-aged man was currently cultivating with his eyes closed. When Wang Lin landed, he casually glanced at Wang Lin, but then his eyes were immediately filled with shock and he stared wide-eyed at Wang Lin. You reached the mid-stage of foundation establishment. This person's face was filled with shock. Wang Lin secretly sighed. Because his origin soul collapsed, he couldn't hide his cultivation level, so this core formation cultivator could see through him. Wang Lin secretly thought, I must quickly recover my origin soul, or else it will be a problem in the future. He respectfully said, Disciple was already at the edge, and because this place has plenty of spiritual energy, I got lucky and made a breakthrough to the mid-stage of foundation establishment. The middle-aged man's expression didn't change, but he began to ponder. What Wang Lin said wasn't strange, but his cultivation speed was a bit too fast. He took a good look at Wang Lin, and after memorizing who Wang Lin was, asked, Why did you come here? Wang Lin clasped his hands and said, Disciple wants to change to a cave with more spiritual energy. The middle-aged man frowned. Cultivators shouldn't be too greedy. Your cultivation speed is too fast, so your foundation is unstable. If you keep this up, you will never reach the core formation stage. Wang Lin pondered a bit and said, Disciple understands, but I hope Senior can agree. The middle-aged man looked at Wang Lin and said, Since you insist, I won't try to stop you, but to change rooms costs one more mid-quality spirit stone. Wang Lin bitterly smiled. He looked heartbroken as he handed over a mid-quality spirit stone. The middle-aged man took the spirit stone and said, Give me your token. Wang Lin handed the token over. After the middle-aged man put it away, he took out another token and said, The lower the number, the more spiritual energy there is inside. With that, he threw the token at Wang Lin. After catching the token, he saw the number on it, 803. Then he quickly thanked the middle-aged man before leaving. It wasn't until he left that the middle-aged man's eyes lit up and he muttered to himself, Strange. Then he flew to cave 1090. In the blink of an eye, he arrived inside the cave. He searched the cave for a while but found nothing wrong. Then he began to ponder. Was I being too paranoid? Was he just indeed at the brink of a breakthrough, which resulted in his cultivation speed being so fast? The middle-aged man pondered a bit and then walked out of the cave. He decided to pay more attention to this person called Qian Mu. Wang Lin flew along the mountain with the token until he found cave 803. The size of the cave was the same as 1090's, but in the center of the cave was a small formation. This formation was very complicated. It even gave off the feeling that it wasn't real. After Wang Lin entered the cave, his gaze fell on the formation. He looked at it for a while and found that it was actually a simple spiritual energy gathering formation. There were many unnecessary things added to it, which were clearly there to prevent people from figuring the formation out. The purpose of this formation was to gather the surrounding spiritual energy to create an area with dense spiritual energy. However, this formation had to be used on top of a spirit vein eye or else it wouldn't be very effective. Spirit vein eyes were like acupuncture points on a person's body. This place can't be a spirit vein eye, so it must be a pseudo-spirit vein eye. Wang Lin looked at it for a while and figured out its secret. Although he had his cultivation sealed by the T domain and the seal, he was a soul formation cultivator. With his 500 years of experience, he was instantly able to see through the formation. It has to be said that even core formation cultivators would have a hard time seeing through this formation. Only at the nascent soul stage could one see it, but they would still have a very hard time understanding it. Especially because there were many redundant things added on top of the formation, making it even harder to see through. After all, for the soul refining sect to turn this entire mountain into caves for the outer disciples, they must have taken measures to prevent people from seeing through the formation. However, the ancestor of the soul refining sect would never have imagined that a soul formation cultivator would be in the mountain for outer disciples. Wang Lin's eyes lit up and he moved his right hand over the formation to find that there was an even more complicated formation under this one. Wang Lin looked at it and thought, I believe this formation is the one that's creating a pseudo-spirit vein eye by linking it to the real one. He pondered a bit before returning the formation back to normal. He sat down in the lotus position and placed restrictions on the walls again. Then he took out 3 top-quality spirit stones and began to cultivate again. The spiritual energy here was several times more dense than in room 1090. After all, this place had the spiritual energy gathering formation here along with a formation that pulled from the spirit vein to create a fake spirit vein eye. The spiritual energy here would naturally be much more dense. Adding on 3 top-quality spirit stones, the density of the spiritual energy here had reached a frightening degree. Even if a nascent soul cultivator saw this, they would steal it without any hesitation. By cultivating here, their cultivation speed would increase greatly. Wang Lin immersed himself in cultivation and forgot about time. His entire body was covered in a layer of spiritual energy frost. When the spiritual energy reached a certain density and wasn't able to go anywhere, it would condense into blue frost. Right now the entire floor of the cave was covered in this blue frost, making it look very beautiful. There was even more spiritual energy frost gathered on Wang Lin's body. From a distance, he looked like a blue person. However, the T mark on his face was still very deep and looked very frightening. Spiritual energy slowly gathered inside Wang Lin's body. However, at the same time, the T domain and seal also absorbed the spiritual energy and became more sturdy. They were currently several times sturdier than before. Time slowly passed and Wang Lin had been in closed-door cultivation here for 2 months. In these 2 months, Wang Lin's body hadn't moved an inch. He used all of this time to keep raising his cultivation level. However, the higher his cultivation level became, the more spiritual energy it required and thus, his cultivation speed decreased. In these 2 months, he was only able to reach the late stage of foundation establishment. He was still a certain distance away from the peak of the late stage of foundation establishment. The 3 top-quality spirit stones had all turned to dust, which caused Wang Lin's heart to ache. He had decided to try to avoid using top-quality spirit stones to cultivate. On this day, Wang Lin's eyes landed on the formation in the room. His palm hit the ground and the formation shattered, revealing the other one underneath it. There isn't enough spiritual energy here. If I were to directly pull spiritual energy from this pseudo-spirit vein eye, it should give me enough spiritual energy to reach the core formation stage. Wang Lin's eyes lit up as he stared at the formation and began to study it. A formation was just a type of restriction, and Wang Lin was very familiar with restrictions. After studying it for a bit, he gained some understanding. His hand formed a seal and the spiritual energy in his body moved. His hand created one afterimage after another and soon, his forehead was covered in sweat. At almost the same moment an afterimage appeared, another one would start forming. The sweat from his forehead had already gotten his clothes soaked. This illusionary restriction was Wang Lin's own creation, and it was very different from normal restrictions. With his current cultivation level, it was very easy to create normal restrictions, but the illusionary restrictions were very difficult. Back when he was inside the land of ancient god with his core formation cultivation, he could only create several of these. Now he was only at the late stage of foundation establishment. With his current cultivation level, he could barely make one. Wang Lin's hand moved faster and faster until all of the afterimages merged into one. Wang Lin pointed at the formation and shouted, then the illusionary restriction suddenly landed on the formation. The formation immediately shook, and then a powerful force came out of it and spread out. Wang Lin dodged the force and stared at the formation. After the force disappeared, the formation stopped working and no more spiritual energy came out. Wang Lin walked up and pointed at the formation. Then a series crackling sounds appeared as the formation shattered, revealing a spirit stone the size of a fist. The color of this spirit stone was red and it looked like there were clouds floating inside it. Wang Lin was able to identify it immediately. This stone was known as the Crystal Kuan Stone. It had the ability to absorb spiritual energy, but no way to store it. Without a word, Wang Lin's right hand pressed upon the red stone and it began to cultivate. Bang! An unfathomable amount of spiritual energy surged out from the Crystal Kuan Stone at an unimaginable speed and charged into Wang Lin's body. With the powerful surge of spiritual energy charging into his body, he felt his pores open and black gas coming out of them. The T mark on his face dimmed. Although it hadn't been destroyed, it was clear that it had weakened. Wang Lin felt very happy. He didn't think that directly absorbing from the spirit vein would have such an effect, but he knew that it would only be this effective the first time. Once this powerful spiritual energy surge stabilizes, he will need to find an even more powerful spirit vein to obtain a similar effect. Wang Lin took a deep breath and removed all distractions from his mind. The spiritual energy coming out from the Crystal Kuan Stone gradually leveled out, until it was no longer as fierce as it was before. Wang Lin also slowly immersed himself in cultivation once again. Country of Shuiyu, inside the Divine Snow and Ice Shrine. Li Yuanfeng was currently sitting in the lotus position and cultivating. Around him were 5 large blocks of ice. Each of these blocks emitted a 5-colored light, as well as slivers of celestial spiritual energy for him to absorb. There was a piece of celestial jade the size of a thumbnail inside each block of ice. Thanks to a formation in the ice, the celestial spiritual energy underwent a mysterious change. Li Yuanfeng currently didn't look too bad, but his expression was dim and his face was pale. After a very long time, he opened his eyes and revealed a lingering look of fear. What powerful lightning! That lightning contained celestial spiritual energy. Even though I managed to reduce its power by half before it landed on me, it still managed to cause me such injuries. Li Yuanfeng tried to kill Wang Lin while Sun Tai and the giant demon clan ancestor was fighting. However, he was attacked by Sun Tai's lightning and spent a lot of effort to finally escape. He had only reached the soul transformation stage by force through a secret technique from Suzaku. He had no hope of having a breakthrough in the future. As a result, compared to those cultivators who broke through to the soul transformation stage themselves, he was too weak. Li Yuanfeng was stronger than peak late-stage soul formation cultivators, but weaker than true soul transformation cultivators. So there was no way for him to stand up against Sun Tai's lightning. I don't know if Zheng Niu died or not. Even if he didn't die, my T-domain is not something that can be broken easily. Li Yuanfeng sneered and his eyes became cold. That junior red butterfly announced that she was going into closed-door cultivation for 100 years. Once she comes out, she will definitely be a soul transformation cultivator. But at that point, my lifespan will have ended and it won't matter anymore. Why did the giant demon clan's ancestor want Zheng Niu's body? This is very strange. Could there be something I don't know? Li Yuanfeng pondered a bit, but still wasn't able to guess the reason. Inside Pailu, among one of the many mountains used by the soul-refining sect's outer sect disciples, Wang Lin awakened from his cultivation. The peak of the late stage of foundation establishment. Wang Lin's eyes were bright as he took a deep breath and moved his body. The spiritual frost on his body began to move and entered his body. Even the frost on the ground and walls turned into faint, blue gas and was absorbed by Wang Lin. The T mark on Wang Lin's face had faded a bit, but was still very shocking. This pseudo-spirit vein isn't enough to meet my needs. I need to find a place with even denser spiritual energy. I believe the spot where the real spirit vein eye is located will be enough. Wang Lin rebuilt the formations to cover up the pseudo-spirit vein eye and walked out of the cave. It was sunny outside the cave. Looking into the distance, there was a hint of spring. The mountainsides were green, creating an elegant feel. Although the wind was still cold, it contained a hint of warmth. Wang Lin took a deep breath and was about to leave when his expression changed. He turned to look to the side. There were countless caves near Wang Lin's cave. He had been in closed-door cultivation this entire time, so aside from the middle-aged man, he hadn't met anyone else. Right now, at a cave 100 feet away, another person walked out. This person was wearing light blue clothes made of yarn, and had a white veil over their shoulder, giving off a very out-of-this-world feel. A head full of black hair was moving along with the wind. She seemed very gentle, and, along with a hint of pink on her cheeks, looked very elegant. This woman seemed to have noticed that someone was looking at her, so she looked over. Her eyes contained an unexplainable beauty. After seeing Wang Lin, she let out a smile as a response and then looked into the distance. Wang Lin withdrew his gaze. He was immediately able to recognize this girl as the person he saw arriving in the sunset. Wang Lin frowned. This girl looks familiar. But I'm confident that I have never seen her before. The Liu Mai from the Xian Dao sect was only an avatar created from the 1000 clone technique. Wang Lin pondered a bit and no longer cared about this girl. Although she was the most beautiful woman he had ever seen in his life, even more beautiful than Red Butterfly and someone Li Muwen couldn't even compare to, but she still couldn't attract his attention. He jumped down from the mountain and examined it as he floated down. Then his gaze focused on one of the caves on the mountain. There wasn't anything special about this cave, and it wasn't the lowest one. From a distance, he could see the number 743 on top of the cave's entrance. It should be here. Wang Lin landed and looked at the cave. While he was cultivating, he used the pseudo-spirit vein eye to find where the real spirit vein eye was located. Looking at it now, he was able to immediately determine that cave 743 was one the closest to the real spirit vein eye. There is someone inside. Wang Lin saw that the door of the cave was sealed. After pondering a bit, he came up with a plan. He was about to return to his cave when the middle-aged man walked out of his house. His eyes lit up and he looked toward Wang Lin. In truth, was watching Wang Lin from the moment he came out. The middle-aged man's expression revealed no emotion as he said, "Qian Mu, come here." A trace of killing intent appeared in Wang Lin's eyes. He arrived 10 feet away. The middle-aged man. Peak of the late stage of foundation establishment, the middle-aged man's pupils shrank and his heart started beating like crazy. He had a hunch that there was something strange about this Qian Mu. Qian Mu's cultivation speed was too fast. When he got here, he was only at the early stage of foundation establishment. When the middle-aged man next saw him, he was at the mid-stage of foundation establishment. Now that the middle-aged man saw him again, he had already reached the peak of the late stage of foundation establishment. The middle-aged man licked his lips as his heart pounded. He didn't hesitate to think that the next time they meet, this person will have already reached his cultivation level, the early stage of core formation. This Qian Mu either has some heaven-defying treasure, or his cultivation method is very mysterious. The middle-aged man stared at Wang Lin and smiled. "Qian Mu, I'm afraid that the next time we meet, I'll have to call you fellow cultivator." Wang Lin glanced at this person and said, "No problem." A hint of ill intent appeared in the middle-aged man's eyes, but he quickly hid it and smiled. "Qian Mu, if you can reach the core formation stage, you will have a good chance in the competition to become a core disciple a few months from now. Once you become a core disciple, you have to remember to come back every now and then." Wang Lin faintly smiled and said, "Of course. But the spiritual energy in my room isn't enough. I wonder if I can change to another one." The middle-aged man was startled and was a bit embarrassed. The caves numbered under 700 require an elder's permission. However, I can help you apply for it once. Wang Lin shook his head and said, "You don't have to go through that much trouble. I just want cave 743. The middle-aged man looked at cave 743. He laughed and said, "That is no problem, but, Qian Mu, although cave 743 has more spiritual energy, it isn't the best." "No problem." Wang Lin laughed and took out 2 mid-quality spirit stones. "I have constantly had to bother senior. This extra spirit stone is something to show my respect." After the middle-aged man accepted it, he secretly sneered. Right now is not the time, but when night comes, no matter how many spirit stones you give me, I'm still going to find out how you cultivate so fast. Although he was thinking about this in his heart, he laughed. He took out a jade, recorded a message and flicked it. The jade flew out. Under the control of the middle-aged man, it flew into cave 743. After a while, a person flew out from cave 743. He was wearing black and his face was filled with meat. He looked more like a butcher than a cultivator. He landed before the middle-aged man and clasped his hands. "Senior, what do you wish to speak with me about?" The middle-aged man said, "Give me your token. I'm changing your room." "Change caves." "I'm not changing. I'm cultivating just fine in there." "Why should I change?" This person snorted. His gaze landed on Wang Lin and he sneered. "Are you the brat that wants to change? Give me 100 mid-quality spirit stones, or else don't even dream about it." With that, he returned to cave 743 without even looking at the middle-aged man. HMPH. The middle-aged man looked at that man's back. He decided that after he deals with Qian Mu, he will definitely make that person pay. "Qian Mu, you can go back first. I'll find a different cave for you tomorrow." The middle-aged man's voice was filled with determination. He clearly wasn't going to let Wang Lin speak anymore. He waved his sleeve and returned to his house. Wang Lin's expression remained normal as he flew back to his cave. He sneered in his heart. If the middle-aged man doesn't come to bother him, then that means the middle-aged man wasn't destined to die. However, if the middle-aged man gives into greed and comes to him at night, then Wang Lin can only kill him. It was completely silent late at night as the middle-aged man walked out of his house. He looked at Wang Lin's cave and greed filled his eyes. This video will end here.